Hello everyone guys, Grandmaster Nikita.MESHKOVS is with you again, and in case you missed, today is the day. World Championship match between current world champion Dinh Lezheng and the young challenger Gukesh started today, and I'm going to cover the very first game of the match, but before we jump to the game, just real quick, reminder about the Chessify platform. Using the promo code MESHKOVS20 you can get 20% discount for the first purchase, so check it out. So today Gukesh played with white pieces, and he started with the king's pawn move, and Dinh Lezheng answered with e7, e6. French defense, which is not a very popular one on the very top level, especially in the World Championship title match. However, if I'm not mistaken, it was previously played 3 times, and in all the cases the results were decisive. So let's see how it went today. Gukesh plays very aggressively, and to be honest, in the very first part of the game it seems that nothing new happened at all. However, after move c5, usually the very main line goes this way. White plays knight f3, and after knight c6 white plays bishop e3, supports the pawn in the center, and many moves can happen here. Literally oceans of theory are you have to know in order to play French defense. So this is pretty much beginning of where it goes normally, but instead Gukesh plays knight c2, another second popular move in this position, and after knight c6 he plays c3. So with this move he solidifies the pawn structure and pretty much claims that now he has a great control, and in the next part of the game he just needs to bring his minor pieces into the game and finish development, and yeah, that's the plan. So after some time, Dinh Lezheng played a5. a5 is already a deviation as well. Usually people play queen b6, f6, bishop e7, or immediately captures on d4. Move a7, a5 is not new, but it's clearly a try to deviate from the main path, and after a5 Gukesh blitzes out knight f3, black plays a4, and Gukesh plays bishop e3. So even though this position is not very popular and it has been played only about 20 times, but some really strong players played this out previously. For instance, Judith Polgar played g4 in this position quite a long time ago in 1998, can you imagine? And then the game went this direction, where the white king escaped and went to the king side. So some action started on the king side, and well, it seems that white has a great potential on the king side, but with such a king on f2 and semi-open f file, anything can happen. So let's go back, and instead of bishop e3, another strong player, Alexander Morozevich, in 2019, 5 years ago, played a3 in this position, and he got a very huge advantage pretty much in 5 moves, because he played c4, opened up the center, and after very messy trades he got a winning position. So bishop e3 was still a move that Gukesh knew. That's what he said in his post-game interview. And after world champion plays bishop e7, white plays g4. This is also a move that was prepared by young challenger. So I assume the main point is that after short castle, white plays g5 and restricts black's activity on the king side. However, instead of short castle, black played queen a5, and Ding makes a move with the queen, and I think that the main point of this move was also to deviate from the lines young player could have worked on, and it worked well actually. So white plays bishop g2. Their play is very simple. He wants to finish development with a short castle, then play f4, f5, followed by knight f4, put more pressure on e6, and organize some attack on the king side. Also worth mentioning that Gukesh invested about 20 minutes for bishop g2, but after move 10, queen a5, there was a significant time advantage for white. Gukesh spends only 2 minutes, and he has 1 hour and 58 minutes at the clock in this moment, while Ding was down to 1 hour and 11 minutes. So 47 minutes deficit. It seems like a huge advantage. However, it's not the end of the game, and yeah, he invests 20 minutes thinking about how he's going to react in case black plays a3, and that's exactly what he did. And after b3, there was a very important moment that after cd4, there was an intermezzo with b4, hitting the queen away and then capturing on d4. So here black plays knight b6, eyeing to install it on c4 square. White makes castles, knight comes to c4, bishop goes back, and bishop goes to d7. So at this moment, it seems that white has quite a significant space advantage in the center and also on the king side. So Gukesh plays queen e2 with a very clear intention to play rook ae1. Let's imagine that black plays short castle, then white has time to bring the rook, and after, let's say, a trade, white has a significant advantage on the king side with a perfect chances to push pawns and generate a very unpleasant attack against the king. But queen e2 was the move that has a clear plan. However, world champion found a very strong reply and very precise approach here. So he takes on d4, and after white recaptures, he goes for knight b2. So knight b2 has perfect support of this far advanced pawn on a3, and c3 pawn becomes an easy target. So this was the moment where even though white has clearly something to play for on the king side, but they're not in time because black generates their counter-attacking chances on the other wing of the board. So Gukesh plays queen e3, supports the c3 pawn, and it seems like everything is fine, but world champion just he felt the moment, and he put even more pressure against the c3 pawn, rook c1 happened, and rook c1 already was a mistake. Bishop e1 would be the right move, but it's very understandable that bishop e1 is not a move you want to make. But the point why it was better, because with this move you're opening up the rook on f-file, and you can push f5 a bit easier. So nevertheless, he plays rook c1, and queen c4 happened on the board. The point is that after queen invades to the 4th rank, mainly he wants to invade to d3. This a2 pawn is not really something you want to play for. So the only chance for Gukesh was to generate something on the opposite wing, and queen d3 was very, very precisely played by the world champion. Just want to illustrate what would happen if black would capture the pawn on a2. Then many options could be possible, but for instance f6 is the strongest one. And yeah, if white manages to open up the center, let's say after bishop f6, queen comes closer, and then white is just much faster in generating direct attack against the enemy king. While if after trade bishop f6, instead of bishop f6, black would try something like bishop d6, then knight comes with a tempo to f5, and then after bishop d5 it seems that white is almost winning. So that's why this this queen takes a2 was a bad approach, and queen d3 was very, very precise with the idea to trade queens and neutralize some pressure on the king side. Also worth mentioning that many pawns are under attack, and as soon as queens are off the board, then I'm pretty sure that black is almost strategically winning. So for this point, Gukesh tries to deviate, tries to avoid queen trade and plays queen e1. It looks like a passive move, but alternatives were not better as well. For instance, queen f4, it seems like much better move, but unfortunately after queen f4 there is a very strong reply g5, and it pretty much forces white to take on g6. Queen recaptures on g6 as well, and you can't really stop both bishop g5 and knight d3 threats. And I think that white's position simply collapses. So for that reason, he was forced to play queen e1, a very passive move, but yeah, what to do. And yeah, at this point, sorry, not Gukesh, but Ding plays some phenomenal chess. Every single move comes with attack, and he hits the rook, then brings his rook in the action, and clearly eyeing on rook d4, queen takes c2 motive. After h4 he plays bishop f4 very quickly, and after queen b1 he thought for 7 minutes, but still he takes on c3, rook takes c3, queen takes c3, and black is simply much better. So also worth mentioning that this segment of the game, these 6 moves in a row, Ding played with quite an impressive speed, less than 2 minutes per move. To be precise, 1 minute and 45 seconds. And it's an impressive combination of preciseness and confidence, and he clearly felt the momentum, and that's exactly the world champion we have seen maybe not 5 years ago, but 3 to 4 years earlier. So at this point, white captures on e6, and here Ding made an inaccuracy. He had to take with the bishop. It was a little bit more precise, with the point that f file is still closed, while after he took with the pawn, it turned out that having an open f file is something to play for white. So Gukesh felt that something is there, and he played knight e2 and took the bishop on f4. So this was the very, very last critical moment of the game, because to be honest, probably the biggest mistake for Gukesh in this game was his time management. At this point, he was down to, I think, 20 minutes, and sorry, not 20 minutes, but 10 minutes. And he spent even more than a half of his remaining time, and he made the wrong decision. After a queen c2 move, position is completely lost, and he never was back in the game. And the alternative, the move that he had to find, and he had to sort of gamble at this point, was bishop c5. Absolutely necessary move to play for the initiative. Well, you know, it's not an easy move to make in the first game of your championship title match, because you're down to 2 pawns and you're giving up third pawn. Yeah. But it was necessary to generate some counterplay, either with rook a3, rook a7, rook a8 motif, or queen f1, and followed by rook f8 ideas. So here, anything could happen, and it would be still a huge fight, even though black has a huge advantage. Material advantage, but with such a vulnerable king on e8, anything could happen. So he missed this moment, and after knight f4, queen takes f4, unfortunately for Gukesh, he plays queen c2, and that's pretty much the game over. I want to point out that Ding played very precisely at this moment, and yeah, pretty much he found all the strongest moves with a surgery precision. He blocked the c file, evacuated his king to the safety. After bishop d4, he found a very strong knight d3 move, and queen e3 did not help white as well, because at this point Ding had 6 minutes, and he spent half of his time and traded on f1, and then pushed e-pawn. So Gukesh was down to 30 seconds without increment, and you know, he was just in a free fall. He took on e5, but every single move, every next move comes with a tempo, and Ding is not going back. He supports the knight and prepares another threat, bishop e4. So the very, very last trick, mate in 1, did not work, because e-file was blocked as well. So no one fell into this one move trick, and Ding secures his king safety, creating a luft for the king. And on the very, very last second, Gukesh plays bishop h3, queen d1, and move 40 was bishop d6. But at this point, nothing really matters, because Ding just plays his move 40. Both players gets half an hour, and after king g3, Ding calculates a couple of lines, and he understands that he can collect this a2 pawn, because bishop e6 leads to nothing. And after King H8, the game was over, and Gukesh resigned. So we have a decisive result in game one, and I'm extremely excited about seeing the next game tomorrow. Anyways, it was a very impressive show on day one. So stay tuned. Thank you for your attention, and see you tomorrow.